kind of a bummer to open up Twitter and then see an article about how the Metroid Prime Trilogy port might not happen, and even though I'm extremely sad about that possible idea, I understand why. The article is about a former Retro Studios employee named Metroid, explaining his thoughts about the possibility of the Switch port. To briefly summarize, Michael states that converting Metroid Prime 1 and Metroid Prime 2 into motion controls was pretty straightforward, but converting Prime 3 into conventional controls would take a ton of effort due to how precise the game was scripted with motion controls in mind, as well as not believing that the Switch's gyro controls would be suitable for Metroid. To make things even worse, Retro no longer has the tools to freely edit the code of the Prime games, so it would take a ton of brute force and effort, and a full team a year to rebuild the game code script by script. It would take way too much effort, and I understand why Michael's skeptical. I know people argue that the trilogy will come to the Switch because Galaxy and Skyward Sword made it, and Michael's statement kind of supports the possibility that it can happen. The real question is though, is it worth doing? Let's be honest guys, Metroid is cool, but it's not the best seller, and it's crazy to think that a company like Nintendo would allocate time, resources, and energy for a full-time team of people to port over a collection of games that sold 600,000 units. I know this leads into a whole bigger argument about how Nintendo's terrible at marketing Metroid and stuff like that, or that the trilogy sales don't accurately represent the interest in the franchise because some people already bought the original Prime game separately, so why would they rebuy a trilogy port of it? But at the end of the day, this is a company who wants profits, and if they don't see that happening, they're not going to hand over the resources to make it happen and lose money, especially on a port that would need so much effort in making. Zelda's getting ported because Skyward Sword sold like 3 million units, so it's guaranteed to sell decently at the very worst. This isn't a matter of can it happen because it's possible, but will it happen with all the effort needed? Probably not. Now I know it's kind of a bitter vibe to kind of break the news that we probably won't get the ports, but to try to spark a little bit of hope, we must remember that this is a former Retro employee's insight. Maybe Nintendo will put in the effort to make the port. Maybe the current team has new tools and techniques to make the port much more efficient. Michael is just saying that it's going to take a lot of effort to make it, and maybe the Skyward Sword port will give Nintendo better insight on how to tackle another port like this. But yeah, that's the news. Now personally, yeah, I am kind of bummed out about it. I was always trying to be low-key optimistic about the chances of a port happening and all that sort of stuff, but I do know that I don't know anything about the game development process and all that sort of stuff. So being able to hear Metroid's thoughts about this, since he worked on these games with this specific team and has so much experience in the industry, like hearing his opinions about like the chances of this happening was really insightful and interesting, and it makes me a bit more understanding of the situation. A lot of people like to be all angry and adamant about like, oh, we want the Prime Trilogy, it needs to happen, but sometimes it's just not that easy to really just do. It's not something as simple as dragging files over from like one console to another, hit the HD button, make it happen. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes effort, and I'm really grateful that at least we got some insight over like, you know, why it's not really happening. It's gonna take a lot of time, and it just might not be worth doing. This is post-ed, but apparently some people out there have been harassing Mr.Wikan about this sort of scenario, and guys, let's not do this. Come on. Metroid has nothing to do with the game development of Prime 4 or the Prime Trilogy port. He doesn't work for Retro. He doesn't work for Nintendo. He's not working on any of the Metroid games and has no involvement on whether the trilogy gets made or not. He's just a former employee giving his opinion and insight from what he knows from his experience. I genuinely think it's terrible that people out there think that he's involved in some way of making this not happen, and it makes me super disappointed. So I hope that you guys who are listening right now, you know, don't harass him. It's just his opinion, his insight, his thoughts on the situation. Come on guys, let's be a little bit better than this. But aside from that though, what's your guys' opinions on the situation? Are you disappointed in the situation? Are you understanding of the situation? Are you one of those few people who still think that the Prime Trilogy port leaks are all real from the very get-go? Whatever your opinion is, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Please first subscribe to my channel as I talk about Metroid a lot, and two, check out the two videos above. One of them being a review of Super Metroid, which I put a lot of effort into, or a video where I discuss my opinions and ideas of a possible Metroid Prime 4 story. Just a lot of speculation of what kind of story I'd want to see inside Metroid Prime 4. With that being said, I'm the Metroid Trainer. Hope you like, favorite, subscribe, and stick around for next time, cause I'll be seeing you later.